Alright, here's a picture of the Methodist Church. Today we're going to be talking about the Methodist Church as well as the Baptist Church. Now, the Methodist Church was organized in 1881 and was at that time a part of the Waco Circuit. Methodists in the area had worshipped much earlier than this in a small cabin known as Sambo's Chapel, located near the present home of Mrs. Elizabeth W. Estes. They also became members of the Cedar Bridge Church, located on the Cox Place between Lorena and Bruceville. After this membership separated, Lorena Methodists worshipped at times with the Baptists until their own church was built. The Lorena Circuit was formed in 1888 and was made up from 2 to 5 churches at various times until Lorena became a full-time charge in 1916 under the pastorate of W.J. Mayhew. The present church was built in 1886 on land acquired from Daniel Earl and from plans furnished by H.J. Hudson, a native of England, who sent back there for plans of the church he had attended as a boy. The original building consisted of the present sanctuary, vestibule, and steeple. As the years passed and needs changed, additions were made and remodeling done. An educational unit was built in 1922, and it was later joined to the original building. An extensive addition to it is being made at the present time, which, as I'm reading this, it's not the present time, but they then added this extension. In 1950, the Spring Valley Church was merged with the Lorena Church, and former members of Spring Valley and of Stanford's Chapel joined the Lorena Methodist Church to continue the unbroken line of faith and dedication passed to us by our forefathers. On April of 1977, an historical marker was dedicated at the church in a moving service. The plaque was presented to be dedicated to the glory of God and to the honor and memory of those who pioneered and developed not only the soil of this country, but also its spiritual and cultural atmosphere. In 1981, the church will celebrate its 100th anniversary. It is presently enjoying a period of expansion and prosperity and will move into its second century with a renewed spirit of dedication to the spiritual strength of this community. Now the historical marker, I don't know, there's the historical marker, and the historical marker says this. This church was organized in 1881 under the Reverend E.R. Barkis as pastor. The congregation met at first in the Baptist Church building. Trustees were Herbert J. Hudson, A.J. Poole, and C.H. Williams, bought the site and supervised the construction of the sanctuary in 1886. It owns its distinctive architectural plans that came from the home church of the trustee Hudson, a native to Cambridge, England. A very devout Methodist layman, Hudson came to Lorena in 1877 and operated a store and private bank. Bishop A.W. Wilson dedicated the fine original church in 1886. Asphalt shingles have replaced the wooden roof. Louvers that attached nesting birds have been removed from the tower, and there have been other alterations. Stained glass windows now enhance the structure. A classroom annex erected in 1922 was joined to the sanctuary by another unit in 1950. The later additions have been in the style adopted in 1886. The annex is open to many public gatherings as the congregation takes an interest in the civic life of Lorena. Besides the successive pastors, leaders in the work of this church have included members of the Half, Hawley, Hooper, Ruckert, Stanford, and Stewart families. Now the Baptist Church is also a big part of Lorena's history. The Baptist Church is from 1882. In recalling the past history of the Lorena Baptist Church, we are committing ourselves to the future of this historic Christian organization. Religion has always been an important part in the start of each new community, and so it was in Lorena. The railroad track being put down to connect larger towns reached the town site of Lorena in the spring of 1882, and the Baptist Church was established in September of the same year. The church was organized by Elder John S. Allen, who became the first pastor. Reverend A.J. Shelton contacted people living in the community. This group of people became charter members of the Lorena Baptist Church. The 22 charter members, as recorded, were Mr. and Mrs. J. H. McBrayer, Captain and Mrs. C. A. Westbrook, Reverend and Mrs. A. J. Shelton, H. B. Sherman, Miss Callie Shelton, Mr. and Mrs. S. J. Crook, Miss Sarah Alexander, Mr. and Mrs. John Shelton, Mr. and Mrs. Ab Ponder, Mr. and Mrs. Samuel Bartlett, Joe Shelton, John L. Miller, Mr. and Mrs. J. T. Shelton, and Joseph Crook. The church building was erected soon after the organization of the church. Daniel Earl donated the land for the church. The first pews were handmade and arranged in two sections, the men sitting on one side and the women on the other. There was a bell tower, and the bell tolled every Sunday morning for Sunday school and church. Joint Sunday school was held with the Methodists until completion of their church building in 1886. Union revival meetings were also held with the Methodists during the early days. The church continues to serve as a meeting place for those with the Baptist faith. Many changes have been made in the past 100 years. The original building was enlarged several times and new Sunday school rooms added. With the changing of the times, many people are returning to the small villages to live, and the Lorena Baptist Church membership is increasing with the steady pace. In January of 1978, a new, beautifully modern white brick church was dedicated, the first new sanctuary for the services of the Lord erected in Lorena in almost 100 years. The present membership of this growing church is 425, and that was in 1981. The present members can look back with pride at the accomplishments of its members in the past 100 years and press forward for a greater future in the field of religion for the recently renamed First Baptist Church of Lorena. And then this is a picture of the old church. The sanctuary is here, and this is a picture of the new church. And I do believe that that is all.